Jordan Henderson was escorted off an England training pitch by police in Texas after completely losing control during a session with Eberechi Eze, 6 days before the World Cup opener against Brazil. It wasn't just a heated moment. It wasn't a misunderstanding between teammates. It wasn't the tabloids spinning nothing into something. This is serious. Nothing like this has ever been seen in the lead up to a World Cup. And there's a detail the FA still hasn't confirmed publicly. Sources close to the England camp say Jordan Henderson allegedly tried to re-enter the training facility through a side entrance half an hour after being removed and had to be physically stopped by security personnel. And the worst hasn't even come to light yet. Over the next few minutes, you'll understand exactly what happened and why this changes everything for England at the World Cup. Because when local police have to be called to your national team's training base, when a player with more than 70 caps for his country has to be walked away with an officer on each arm, when the entire squad is left standing in complete silence, watching one of their most experienced teammates being taken off the pitch, this isn't just another dressing room argument. This is a crisis. And the behind the scenes of this is far worse than it looks. It all started during what should have been a routine possession drill at England's Fort Worth training facility. Mid-morning session, artificial turf, around 20 players present plus the full coaching staff. Approximately 40 minutes into training, Eberechi Eze nutmegged Jordan Henderson during a rondo exercise. That's when everything exploded. Witnesses say Eze followed the nutmeg with a brief showboating gesture, something that some interpreted as disrespectful, while others saw as nothing more than competitive confidence you see in training every single day. Jordan Henderson froze for 2 seconds. Then he broke from the drill and sprinted straight toward Eberechi Eze. Declan Rice, England's current captain, stepped between them to defuse the situation. Henderson reportedly shoved Declan Rice to the ground. Mark Guehi and John Stones grabbed Henderson and pulled him back. But according to sources close to the squad, Henderson then turned his anger toward the coaching area. What's being said behind the scenes is that Jordan Henderson shouted things about team selection and favoritism that allegedly crossed a line with Thomas Tuchel and his staff. Thomas Tuchel stepped forward and pointed toward the changing rooms. Jordan Henderson refused to move. 2 security personnel approached. Henderson took a step toward them. That's when the call was made. A police vehicle arrived within 8 minutes. 2 officers walked Jordan Henderson off the pitch, one hand on each arm, while the rest of the England squad stood frozen, watching one of their own being removed like that. Nobody saw it coming. But this didn't come out of nowhere. The thing is, Jordan Henderson has reportedly been unhappy since the preliminary squad was even announced. Sources suggest he believed his experience and everything he's given to England over the years warranted a guaranteed starting position under Thomas Tuchel. He was already frustrated after being left on the bench for both pre-tournament friendlies. Teammates allegedly noticed Jordan Henderson becoming increasingly isolated during team meals, sitting alone or only with the older members of the squad. There were whispers inside the camp that Henderson felt disrespected by some of the younger players who never experienced England's recent tournament runs with him. And the tension between Jordan Henderson and Eberechi Eze specifically goes back further than this one training session. Strong rumors point to friction dating back to tactical meetings where Thomas Tuchel praised Eberechi Eze's creativity in a way that Henderson allegedly interpreted as a direct criticism of his own style of play. On one side, you have Jordan Henderson's perspective. A decorated midfielder with more than 100 caps for England being humiliated in front of his teammates by a player with a fraction of his international experience. He reportedly believes Thomas Tuchel has already made up his mind to sideline him, and that the younger generation is being encouraged to push the old guard out. On the other side, you have Ebereki Eze and the newer players who feel they're competing fairly for World Cup starting spots, doing nothing more than what's expected in competitive training. They allegedly believe Jordan Henderson simply cannot accept that football has moved on and that reputation alone doesn't guarantee selection anymore. And in the middle, you have players like Jude Bellingham, who sources say has remained conspicuously silent about the entire incident, neither defending Jordan Henderson nor condemning him. And hold on, because the most controversial detail I've saved for the end. The dressing room is reportedly split down generational lines. Players who came through major tournaments with Jordan Henderson feel he's been pushed too far and that younger squad members need to show more respect to those who paved the way. The newer contingent believes Henderson's reaction was completely unacceptable regardless of any provocation, and that nobody, no matter how many caps they have, is bigger than the team. You, as an England fan, know what a divided camp means heading into a World Cup. Thomas Tuchel held an emergency meeting with his coaching staff for over an hour immediately after the incident. No decision has been announced yet. One coaching source allegedly described it as the worst squad management situation they've encountered in international football. Senior figures from the FA are reportedly flying to Texas for crisis talks, fully aware that whatever decision is made will dominate headlines during the opening week of the tournament and could completely overshadow England's preparations for Brazil. Social media exploded the moment the news broke. Some fans are defending Jordan Henderson's passion and commitment, arguing that he's earned the right to show emotion after everything he's given to the national team. Others are calling for immediate expulsion from the squad, pointing out that no player should ever require police intervention at a training session, regardless of the circumstances. British tabloids are already running front-page stories, with some framing Henderson as a wronged legend being cast aside, while others are demanding Thomas Tuchel send him home before he poisons the entire camp. And the clock is ticking. Thomas Tuchel must decide within the next 24 to 48 hours whether Jordan Henderson remains in the World Cup squad or is sent back to England, because FIFA regulations require any replacement player to be registered before the tournament's opening match. If Henderson is removed, England loses midfield depth and a player who understands what tournament pressure actually feels like. The tactical implications are significant. Jordan Henderson was reportedly being considered as a second-half option to help England see out tight matches when protecting a lead. Now Thomas Tuchel is caught between two terrible decisions. If he sends Jordan Henderson home, he loses an experienced voice in a squad that's already nervous about facing top opponents in the group stage, and he risks alienating other senior players who might see it as ruthless and disloyal. But if he keeps Henderson in the squad after police had to physically remove him from training, he completely undermines his own authority, signals that status and seniority protect you from consequences, and potentially allows a toxic atmosphere to fester right as England heads into their World Cup opener against Brazil in 6 days. England's opening fixture in Los Angeles is now completely overshadowed. Questions about squad harmony will dominate every single press conference from now until kickoff. If Jordan Henderson stays, training sessions may remain tense, and his presence could divide the camp even further at the exact moment when unity matters most. And there's a detail that almost nobody has focused on yet. Multiple players allegedly filmed the incident on their phones before coaching staff confiscated the devices, and whispers are going around that at least one video was already sent outside the England camp before the phones were collected. If that footage leaks, this story goes to a completely different level. What we're watching here is one of England's most experienced players at a breaking point, a manager facing his first major crisis with the national team, and a World Cup campaign that could unravel before it even begins. This is the kind of incident that either brings a squad together against external pressure or tears it apart from the inside. And look, this is far from over. This is the information going around so far. Over the next few hours, new details should drip out, and they could turn this whole story upside down. Over to you. Should Thomas Tuchel send Jordan Henderson home to protect squad harmony and set a clear standard, or keep him in the squad for his experience and leadership when England needs every possible advantage at the World Cup? Write it down below. And if you don't want to find out about the next bombshell after everyone else, subscribe and turn on notifications now. Because when this fully blows up, you'll want to be the first to know, not the last. And there's something else that makes this even more explosive. Sources suggest Thomas Tuchel is now waiting on a formal police report to determine whether any charges will be filed against Jordan Henderson following the incident. If charges are brought, the decision is taken completely out of Tuchel's hands. Jordan Henderson would have to be sent home immediately, regardless of what the manager or the FA want to do. That's the reality of having law enforcement involved in what should have been an internal squad matter. But here's where it gets even darker. According to information going around, there are serious concerns within the England camp about what happens next time the squad trains together. Kobbie Mainoo, whose emergence this season has squeezed Jordan Henderson further down the pecking order, was allegedly present during the entire confrontation and reportedly looked visibly shaken by what he witnessed. Other younger players, including Morgan Rogers and Noni Madueke, are said to be questioning whether they're safe in an environment where a senior player can lose control like that without immediate consequences. And then there's Ebereki Eze himself. The player at the center of the storm has reportedly given no public comment and is said to be staying completely silent within the camp. But what's being said behind the scenes is that Eze feels he did absolutely nothing wrong, that he was simply competing the way any professional should in training, and that he's now caught in a situation that could define how he's perceived by teammates for the rest of the tournament. Some players allegedly believe Eze should have shown more respect to a senior figure like Jordan Henderson. Others feel Eze is being unfairly blamed for Henderson's inability to handle being phased out. Harry Kane, England's captain during previous tournaments and still one of the most respected voices in the squad, has reportedly been in constant communication with Thomas Tuchel, trying to find a path forward. But even Harry Kane's influence might not be enough to bridge a divide this deep. Ivan Toney and Ollie Watkins, both fighting for limited striker minutes, are said to be watching this situation closely because it sets a precedent for how the squad hierarchy actually works under pressure. If experience and seniority protect Jordan Henderson from consequences here, what does that mean for every other selection battle in the squad? The brutal truth is that England's World Cup campaign might be decided in a Texas police station and a Fort Worth training facility, not on the pitch in Los Angeles against Brazil. Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford, and Anthony Gordon are supposed to be focused on how to break down one of the best defenses in world football. Instead, they're reportedly being asked in team meetings to take sides in a generational civil war that nobody wanted and nobody knows how to resolve. And that video footage that allegedly exists on player phones before they were confiscated? If that leaks in the next 48 hours, this becomes an entirely different story. The optics of Jordan Henderson being restrained by teammates of him allegedly shouting at coaching staff, of police walking him off the pitch with the rest of the England squad watching in silence. That's the kind of image that defines tournaments for all the wrong reasons. It doesn't matter how many goals England scores or how well they play. That image becomes the story. This is England's nightmare scenario. A fractured dressing room, a manager facing an impossible decision with no good options, senior players questioning the direction of the team, younger players feeling unsafe or disrespected depending on which side they're on, and a World Cup opener against Brazil in 6 days that should be the biggest moment of these players' careers, but is now completely overshadowed by chaos nobody can control. Jordan Henderson's legacy with England, built over more than a decade of service and tournament appearances, now hangs by a thread. And Thomas Tuchel's authority as England manager is being tested before his World Cup campaign has even begun. The decision that gets made in the next 24 hours will echo through English football for years. Because this isn't just about one training ground incident anymore. It's about what kind of team England wants to be, what standards actually mean when they're tested, and whether experience and reputation protect you from accountability, or whether the team comes first, no matter who you are.